right, what's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Affiliate Marketing Academy. I'm Olivia, your host, and today we're joined with Joe Addona, native ads expert from Outbrain, who is super well known in the industry. We're going to talk about how to have success with native ads as an affiliate. But before we do that, Joe, can you give us like a brief intro on yourself and what you do at Outbrain?
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Olivia. Very well known, hopefully for some good reasons, but I've been at Outbrain for almost 7 years now. I started off as an account manager, so helping a lot of the bigger buyers, both on a performance standpoint and just a branding standpoint, know how to buy on native and transition a lot of their Facebook and Google campaigns to native and helping them see success. And at Outbrain, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the largest brands in the world and also some of the most nimble performance marketers and affiliates. And over the last 2 years, I've kind of carved the niche into the more affiliate direct response area. And that's where I play in now. And I think that's why we've been seeing a lot of familiar faces and knowing the same people, because really having a dedicated team towards that has helped. And now we have a team of, I believe, 8 people just in the US that handle affiliate and direct response campaigns. And international, we have another, I think, like 12 to 15. So Outbrain's a really big network.
I didn't know you guys were international. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. We're I think we have offices in like 15 different countries now.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So we have dedicated team to just this world, which has been really cool to see the focus on it and leaning into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what would you say makes native ads so great compared to like Google ads or Facebook ads, for example?
I think it's just a different way to get in front of people. The thing that I've always seen is consumers and people that buy things online have different journeys, right? Sometimes they're on Facebook and Instagram, checking on what their friends are doing. Sometimes they're on YouTube watching how to repair their car, but they could also be on CNN or Fox News or, Fortune, looking at investment advice, politics, and just general news stuff. And that type of content isn't consumed on all those other platforms like a Google and a Facebook, at least not in a general way. And I think it's just one more piece of the puzzle to get in front of people when they're on the open web, is what we call when they're on publishers consuming content.
Would you say there's a specific audience for native ads?
A lot of heavy news is where all the inventory lies. So native ads is the majority. It's on just traditional publishers, like some of the names I mentioned, but more so now we're kind of going into some non-traditional distribution, like in-apps, in like Words with Friends games or the Fox News weather app or things like that. So we have recommendations everywhere. But just generally, people that consume news definitely skews a little bit older compared to something like a TikTok, for instance, right? Like the general audience is 45, 50-year-old plus compared to a Gen Z type platform for sure.
Okay. Cool. Regarding affiliate marketing, what would you say are the first steps to getting started as an affiliate with native ads?
The first step is probably taking a look at some of the publishers that I mentioned and just any publisher out there and look at what other people are running. There's all these spy tools out there that you can use too, but some of them are hit or miss. I think the data there isn't really that accurate most times and spend levels and what's kind of trending. But you kind of want to get a feel of what other people are running and how you can transition some of your Facebook copy, for instance, to native. Because just a great example is native doesn't have super long descriptors like Facebook does in their ad. And we also don't use video for performance marketing. So I know with everyone going into YouTube and with people running a lot of interactive Facebook ads, they have all this great video creative. But we don't necessarily do that at Outbrain. We do have some GIF format and style things, but for the most part, you want a static image, no text on it, no overlay, and a really short kind of headline and image combination that you can see there. And then that's the front end ad. But then the other piece of it is the landing page. And I think that's the biggest difference on native too, is that you have to have some form of advertorial or short 200, 300 word pre-lander before the actual offer, or if it's a VSL, before the actual VSL. And it's it's unique. There's specific, it's a whole nother network. So you have to get in the mindset of saying, okay, I can use some of the things that I've learned on Facebook and Google and these other platforms, but for the most part, the most successful affiliates are the ones that commit to just diving in, experiencing it as a completely new channel, and being willing to test a lot of different variations of those things I mentioned.
Right.
And then there's so much more
completely
optimization
different from them. Yeah. Awesome. What should you be looking at as an affiliate promoting offers for native ads? Like, should you be looking at high commission, high AOV, TSL versus VSL, for example?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have the perfect answer for you, though.
Yeah.
Like, we have general ballparks of what payouts should be to be successful on Outbrain. Like, I know if a health VSL has a CPA, a payout under $100, it's going to be really hard to work on Outbrain and all native in general, just because of how you need to bring people through the funnel. Usually, if it's $120 or above, then we tend to say, okay, this is more within the range of what we think we can get to. E-com products, similarly, if things are $25 or less, it's going to be really hard to find success on Outbrain just based on the sheer amount of volume and clicks and things that you have to optimize to. So we have these general ballpark numbers, but I think I talk about this a lot, and some of it has to do with seasonality in terms of we don't launch hardly any e-com products, meaning like gadgets and things like that. They don't really scale until October 15th. There maybe are some hits and some people that find success throughout the summer and things like that. But in terms of an evergreen approach, e-com really isn't the main thing on Outbrain. I think it's more health. And it's when it comes to health, it's a lot of VSLs.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. We do see some long form tech stuff as well. But I think when I look at like the top spenders report or the things that I've always seen, it is a pre-lander, like that jump page of 150 to 300 words, click through, go to the VSL. And that's what we see. That's what we see work best there. Okay.
And then on that note, would you say that there's certain niches or verticals that perform best with native ads? I know you mentioned like health and fitness, for example, but if there was something else.
I mean, I'm in the mindset that it can all work. It can all perform. It's like the native network is, and that's one of the benefits too. It's huge, but it's also kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Like there's so many people out there and there's so many different publishers, and on those publishers, there's so many different widgets and articles and all this different stuff. But with that, the playground is massive. And I've seen things work that I never thought would. And, I've seen things that I think would work really well, just totally tank. And I think it can be anything, but really the main areas are health and fitness type thing, like beauty.
Yeah.
And then also more lead gen has kind of taken off over the last 12 to 18 months when we think about solar and Medicare and life insurance. And if anybody's listening to this is familiar with native, like a couple years ago, auto insurance was the hottest thing on the block and everyone was running it, and it just got beaten in the ground. And now we only have a couple people running it at scale. And I think it hit a point of attrition after all that. And solar is kind of experiencing the same type of thing right now, where everybody was launching solar. Everyone still wants to launch solar lead gen. And I don't know, I kind of see it fizzling out a little bit. So we'll see what the next thing is. But yeah, lead gen works well because it's a lower, there's more conversions per day that you can get for the amount of spend. Going back to the VSL thing, if you have $100 CPA and we're always optimizing towards that $100, well, that data comes in a lot slower than a life insurance lead for under $10. You can get 10 times the amount of conversions than you would with a health product. So you're able to optimize the campaign a lot faster. You're able to cut ads, cut sections, and go into the sections that are actually working. So I think a lot of people find value in that rather than just spending a ton of money against health and having the data be harder to come by.
So I'm more familiar with Facebook ads, but with Facebook ads, there's a lot of testing and you have a lot of variations. With native ads, it's the same thing. You have a lot of different variations and you just test from there.
Yeah, it's relatively the same. I think we
Okay.
like to test a little bit less frequently than what people do on Facebook. Like when we launch a campaign, we usually like to have only 4 to 6 total pieces of creative within that campaign. So that might be 2 images and 3 headlines, and those variations create 6 total ads. And typically, a lot of the higher performing campaigns at Outbrain that are consistently profitable only have maybe 1 to 2, hardly ever 3 total active ads within a campaign. Because once you find those, you pause out all the rest and you just kind of focus on that. And again, going back to the size of the network, like those 3 ads there's not really going to be a point where, in the beginning at least, to where you need to refresh creative on a weekly basis. It's typically like every 4 to 6 weeks once you have something working to fold in some new things.
Okay. That's cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, so it's a little bit smaller.
I love learning about that stuff.
Idea.
So
yeah.
Cool. Going back to this, what would you say is like a reasonable budget to start out as an affiliate marketer?
Usually 3 to 5 times the CPA goal that you have. So
gotcha.
If you're trying to get, going back to the health example, if you're trying to get conversions for under $100, you probably want to be spending between $300 to $500 a day on Outbrain. And that's separated into a couple different campaigns. And if you want to get into it here, we can. But there's a lot. There's a lot to weed through in the beginning. And again, it's a double-edged sword. There's so much inventory. But the hard part about native is you have to like break through that I guess like threshold phase. of really testing hard for 10 days. And then once you're out of that, you have the data that you need to be able to manipulate the campaign and be more successful in the back half of the month. But I think people get so discouraged with native because in the first 7, 10, 14 days, they're down 50% and they're like, holy shit, if I can launch a Facebook campaign and be profitable on day 3, why would I try native? And they just go back to what they're comfortable with, which I get it too, especially if you're an affiliate and it's like, that's my money. That's on my credit card rather than working for a company and working on the marketing team. So
yeah, exactly.
It's challenging, but the people that do and are able to spend that amount and stay committed to it, and we're honest too. Like we can tell within those first 10 days to say, hey, this actually has a chance, or hey, you should wipe your hands with this and let's pick something else actually. And that's really what our team is here for, that focuses on that stuff now, that we only work with affiliates and direct response. So we know pretty intuitively that, hey, this has a chance or it doesn't. And we try and be as honest as possible about that. And obviously it sucks, but to be able to learn the platform for somebody that hasn't, it's in my opinion, it's almost worth it at that point too.
Yeah, of course. And you're saving them money and time by telling them the truth and being honest. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we try. And obviously I would love for more things to work and and stuff to take off more. But there's just a lot to it. There's a lot of
I can imagine.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And I think, I know you didn't ask this, but one of the things that really helps people figure it out sooner, and the thing that we've been doing over the past year, is focusing on not only that hard conversion, like the purchase, but also a more upper funnel soft conversion. So let's just use that pre-lander example that has 150, 300 words on it. If we're driving people to that landing page, we like to fire a pixel anytime somebody clicks through and goes to the VSL, because that's going to tell us, like, if we know that the landing page click-through rate is above 20% or above 30%, then that's healthy. But if a landing page click-through rate for either an ad or a publisher section or even a day of the week, if it's less than 10%, then that's bad, and we need to block that, and we need to get it out of there. And that happens so much more consistently than the actual purchase. So that's been really helpful.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, good
to know. So you did mention landing pages, and that's something that I wanted to go over, because for YouTube and Facebook ads, you do need a landing page, but I wasn't sure if you needed one for native ads. So absolutely necessary to have a landing page for these ads, correct?
Yeah, you need to have some form of landing page. It's really difficult to go direct to
Yeah.
the offer.
'Cause I know some affiliates like to link back to the offer, but sometimes that gets them banned or, it just doesn't go very well. And it's also not as easy to track. So I think in the end, usually it's always best to have a landing page.
Yeah, it's for a couple reasons on our end too. I think the landing page helps qualify somebody, right? I mean, the whole
Right.
thing with native is like someone's reading an article on men's health, and I'm reading this article, and it's 5 supplements that men should be taking in 2023, right? And it's all these supplements, and then if a company has a probiotic that wants to advertise on Outbrain, somebody's reading that article, they're going to click through that probiotic ad. They're not just going to go purchase it right away. They want to understand, well, why do I need this? Why is it meant for me? And what is actually what's behind it? And I think that's the biggest thing with native is someone's reading an article. They want to go to another, not huge article, but at least some understanding of what's going on, and then go to the actual sales page. And that flow is really important, because if someone's reading an article and they go to a product, they're probably not going to purchase it. It's not the same
Not right away.
feeling as like Facebook and Google. Like I'm not searching probiotics for men on Google and then I'm getting the search results and I'm getting hit with retargeting. It just doesn't work that way on Outbrain. So you have to have some form of substance behind it. And then the other piece of it too is a compliance. It's really good to have a pre-sell page and an advertorial or something like that for compliance purposes, because I know, and a lot of people probably watching this, a lot of those VSLs and a lot of those sales pages tend to be very aggressive, over-promising, maybe some language that isn't approvable for some networks and all that kind of stuff.
That's true.
So it becomes a compliance concern that we can't drive directly to those things. But the way that some people kind of get around that is by having the front end of everything go to that advertorial and that pre-sale page first to lay the groundwork in a compliant way. And then if somebody says, hey, I want to learn more about this, then they're able to go to the VSL or go to the sales page. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I was going to ask about compliance, but you just answered me. So
compliance is really fun. It's one of the more fun things at Outbrain. I don't know if you get the sarcasm there, but it's crazy everywhere. I mean, compliance is crazy everywhere. It
really is.
It's becoming more and more of a thing recently. Like I've been here for 7 years, and across all networks, not just Outbrain, but just how, like FDA approvable stuff and know your customer laws and all these different things that have to be there for people to sell products online now. Like it's definitely a lot different than it was like the Wild West, 10 years ago.
When you started, was it like this?
It was definitely a little bit less. Less things were needed on the landing page and less language was needed to, qualify things in the right way. And I think it just comes down to like, there were so many, and there still are, there's a lot of shady actors out there that aren't necessarily on Outbrain or native networks, but they're everywhere. And, they do things like have fake Shark Tank pictures and reviews that aren't actual reviews. And there's just all this stuff that happens, and it puts a really hard light on the network as Outbrain, because then we are the ones getting in trouble for it. Like if the customer complains and says, hey, I was on CNN, I saw this ad, I clicked on it, they didn't send me the product, it's completely fake. CNN gets back to us and they say, what are you doing? How did you let that in? So it all eventually comes back to us. And it's, I think it's just a difficult thing to balance, but it's everywhere. All networks are kind of going through that right now.
Definitely Facebook over the years has gotten more strict about that too. So it's unfortunate, but I guess it's for the best in the end. So
yeah, agreed.
Are there certain types of ads that perform best with native ads, like certain placements?
In this world, there's just general things you kind of have to think about. Like you don't want text on images, and you want it to not be the most like clean looking stock image. You kind of want it to be like a little bit weird, not blurry, but not like super in focus and touched up and everything. You kind of want it to be a little bit just like you're like, whoa, what is that? And you kind of want to take a second look at it type
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
And when that
Gets you
second look
curious.
happens, exactly, that curiosity point of like, is that what is that? That's usually what gets people to click through and ads to have a really high click-through rate. More than ever too, I think people are using GIF formats. So taking like a little 5-second clip and running it through a couple times in rotation, that's been really helpful, because native's always been static images for the longest time, just like a 1200 by 800 image, a headline, and just what you see is what you get. But now people are starting to realize that they can get their click-through rate twice as high if they use a GIF. And if their click-through rate's twice as high, their ad score is going up, and they don't have to pay as much of a CPC. So they start to get more efficient and still win the same inventory at the same time by using some of that animated creative. And I think that's probably one of the things that's going to really be big next year as people continue to understand that and go for that.
Yeah. And you mentioned a few times that you shouldn't have text on the images. Is that like a native ad standard, or is that just because it won't get like approved?
It's not so much an approvable thing. It's just like a native ad standard.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It just doesn't, the images are so small on
that's true.
these pubs, and we're not your traditional Google display where it's the banner and the retargeting cube on the right-hand rail. It kind of is a look and feel of it's native of the publisher. So you want it to feel like it belongs there, and having 25% off this product in your thing, it doesn't tend to perform well. So it's kind of just a best practice.
Makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. How do you deem a campaign is successful, and how do you scale it? Like, what metrics are you looking for?
Loaded question.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's successful if we're over 10% in ROAS. So if you're 110% return on ad spend, that's kind of where you need to be. And I think one of the really hard things to come into Outbrain is people want 2 to 3 times their ad spend. And that is just not going to happen on native. Like, if you're a successful native media buyer, if you're anywhere from 10 to 50% on your return on ad spend, like, there's hardly ever a time where you're going to be 2x your return on ad spend, which is hard for people to grasp, and hard for people to be like, oh, well, I'm making this hand over foot on Google and YouTube, and it's just not the platform for that. So if we're successful, we're anywhere from 10 to 50%, and I would be ecstatic, if I was a media buyer and if I was hitting those numbers. There are so many ways to scale on Outbrain, different types of audiences to target, publisher blocks. There are different algorithm sets. We have something called conversion bid strategy that has 3 different algorithm sets within it. One being just like a maximized conversions bidder that will look at conversion rate and try and bid to the publishers and ad copy and time of day that are converting highest. The other one is a target ROAS bidder. So kind of like we talked about, if I want my ROAS to be 150%, like, I'm putting it in there, and that way it's not going to look at conversion rate, but it's going to look at ROAS by publisher, section, and ads. So a little bit more granular. And then we have a target CPA. So kind of similar to ROAS, but more not attributing order values or anything like that to it, and just looking at your front end CPA goal. So once you get up and running on Outbrain and the system has a lot of conversions in it, you can start to duplicate out your campaigns and test these different conversion bid strategies and different algorithm sets, along with different targeting within there. Build lookalike models off of your conversion segment. So if you have 1,000 people that converted, we can take that and we can, induce an audience of 2 million, 3 million people that exhibit similar content consumption behaviors. Yeah, so there are a lot of things you can do, but the hard part is getting it within those first 10 to 14 days, getting it started, getting it through the wall, finding some success, and then you're like, okay, how do I scale? And our job is to do that, to take people from $500 a day to $50,000 a day, if possible. And that's really
that's awesome.
The hope every time. Now, does that happen every time? No, but 50,000 is a big number, for our team.
Yeah,
so it's good.
Huge.
Yeah,
50,000 a day. That's insane. But Hey,
Yes.
that's
yes.
awesome.
It's rare, but there are people that do it.
Yeah.
If it's the right offer, the right media buyer, the right timing, and the right level of investment, then it's definitely possible. I mean, it's possible to spend quite a bit, even more than that. But yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. What are some insights that you can give the audience to work with native ads? I know you've given so many insights, but just any like last insider tips?
Yeah, I mean, I know I kind of already said it, but you do need to be in the mindset of this is a new channel and I'm going to look at data a little bit differently, and I also need to be in the dashboard probably half hour to 45 minutes a day. It's not a set it and forget it platform. It will never be that way. Even if you are spending $30,000 a day, it might be good for probably 4 days, but you're going to need to go in there and you're going to need to make some adjustments and blocks and things and stuff like that. So it does take it does take a little bit of front end work to understand it. But then once you understand it, there's all types of rules you can create inside of Outbrain with our own internal API. So you don't even really need to use third party APIs anymore, as long as everything's set up and tracking correctly, to where you say, hey, if a publisher spends, if I spend $100 on CNN and it didn't convert once, then I'm going to block it, or I'm going to decrease the bid by 50%. So I'm going to be 50% less competitive on this specific publisher. So that's, once you have all that data in the door from the beginning, you can start to carve out these rules that really make things perform a lot better as time goes on. But it really is about getting through that first wall, but also leaning on somebody internally like me or someone from our team to say, hey, it's not even worth trying to get through this wall anymore. Like, this is not doable. Let's maybe brainstorm some other type of offer or product or angle, or how can we switch this up? So it's about being patient, but then also leaning on one of us to really be able to help you say, hey, it's probably not worth it for this particular one.
So you guys have your own platform, like you said, where you can go in and see how the ads are performing?
Yep. Yeah. Cool. So 100% transparency, and it's down to the single impression for any publisher globally. You're able to see and spend, and it looks pretty good. That's the feedback we get from the market and just all the clients and partners that I have and I've had over the years, that our dashboard's always been pretty clean, pretty sophisticated, and easy to navigate. So that makes it a hell of a lot easier to buy media, which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if anyone watching wants to work with Outbrain or wants to contact you to get native ads started, how can they do that?
You can search my name on Skype, or you can email me, just first initial, last name at outbrain.com, and I'll get you to the right person. Whether you're international in Germany, in India, in Australia, or you're in the US or Canada, I'll try and help get you to the right person and try and help you get going. But yeah, I mean, we're very proud of the team that we built, which I think is very unique in our industry, not just native, but also just digital advertising right now, to have a team that solely focuses on the needs of affiliate marketers, offer owners, and people that are super heavy direct response. So it's been one of the reasons we've been really successful over here over the last year and a half, 2 years. So happy to help. Yeah,
and you guys are international like us, so that's awesome.
Oh yeah. We got teams everywhere.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate you being on here with us today and giving us all these tips on native ads.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, thanks again so much for tuning in today. We'll have another Affiliate Marketing Academy episode with a guest next month, so be sure to stick around and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Have a good one.